Have you ever walked into a barn and the smell just knocked you to the ground? I bet it's because they hadn't cleaned their stalls in a long time. Cleaning your stalls is a big part of having a horse because one, it keeps them clean. Secondly, it reduces the fly population. And lastly, it reduces their chance of having a hoof infection. First, cleaning your stalls keeps your horse clean. That's very logical. And keeping your horse clean keeps your horse happy and working good. A clean horse is a happy horse. A horse gets dirty whenever you leave them in a stall with manure and they lay down and roll around in it. And then when they get up, it dries on them. And if you need them in an emergency, you cannot saddle them fast because you have to take the time to sit there and brush them off before you can saddle them, get on them, and go. Secondly, the fly population. I've seen it time and time again in a barn that is not clean with manure in the stalls, where the fly population just gets way out of hand and flourishes. Flies, just like to me and you, they're a nuisance. They get in your horse's eyes, they get in their nose, they just cause them all kinds of problems that they shouldn't have to deal with. And having manure in your stall gives them a food source and gives them a place to lay their larvae as well as a place to live. And when you have all three of those, it's really, really hard to control their population when you could just clean out your stalls and probably cut the population in your barn at least by half. And that causes relief to both you and your horse while you're down there. And lastly, it draws in horse flies, which everybody knows they bite and they hurt really bad. And they're a really, really big discomfort to horses. Nobody wants to be bit, nobody wants to be stung by a wasp, and it's basically the same thing for them. Now lastly, we have cleaning your stalls keeps your horse's hoof, or lessens the chance of your horse having a hoof disease. The hoof of a horse is the foot of the horse. And whenever you keep them in a stall, all that mud and all that manure and all that bacteria that's in that stall can get through the wall of that hoof and cause problems. Our first problem is thrush. And Equimed explains thrush as a bacterial infection of the frog of the horse. And the frog is just a sensitive part of the horse's hoof, and whenever it becomes inflamed or gets infected, it becomes very, very painful and can cause them to go lame. And lame just means that you can't ride them, they can't walk around, they can't move very well, and they're basically useless. And this can be treated, and it will go away as long as you just keep cleaning it out every day, their feet, and as long as you clean their stalls and just keep everything in good condition. Secondly, we have abscesses, which are very, very painful, and the sudden onset of lameness happens like that. An abscess, the easiest way to explain it is it's just like a pimple on your face. Whenever all that manure and all that mud, it acts like dirt in your pores, and whenever it packs into their hoof and goes through that wall of their hoof, it gets in there and causes an infection. And whenever this happens to you, it happens the same in horses. They have their inflammatory response where white blood cells rush to the area, inflammatory fluids, they come in, and all these things being there along with that growing bacteria causes a bunch of pressure, and this pressure is very, very painful to a horse. And whenever the pressure gets so big that eventually it actually explodes, just like your pimple does. You know, you squeeze it and that pus all comes out. Well, out of the front of their hoof or the bottom of their hoof, it'll actually explode, if you will, and all that stuff will come out of it. And once it does that, you have the real challenge. You have to doctor it every day. You have to keep stuff over it to make sure that initial or another infection does not get in it, because that happens very easily. And if that happens, that just creates a whole nother world of problems. And so Miss West, she said that it's just best not to let your horse have abscesses, so that way it increases the longevity of their use and their workingness. So in conclusion, it's good to keep your stalls clean because it keeps your horses clean, which makes them easier to get on whenever you need them in a hurry, and as well it makes them a happy horse. Secondly, it reduces the fly population, and this lessens the nuisance for both you and your horse. And thirdly, it reduces the chances of your horse getting a hoof disease. And if we can reduce all these things, your horse will be a better horse, a happier horse, and a more fun horse to ride. Thank you.